Hello, and welcome. Today, we're going to be unpacking a pretty fascinating product, one that kind of blurs the line between bedding and wellness. It's an herbal sleep aid quilt. We're going to break down exactly what it is, how it claims to work, and who it's supposed to be for, all based on what the manufacturer themselves are saying. So, let's get right into it. Right off the bat, they hit us with a really bold question, and it pretty much frames this whole explainer. Can a blanket, a simple blanket, actually be more effective than a sleeping pill? Now that is a huge claim, and our goal here is to explore the science and the story that they've built around that idea.
You know, this whole thing really starts with a problem that is universal, the quest for a good night's sleep. So many of us struggle with it, and that means the search for real solutions is pretty much constant.
And let's be honest, a lot of people are looking for alternatives to traditional sleeping pills. They're worried about potential side effects, that groggy feeling in the morning, or even the risk of dependency. This has totally opened up the market for more natural, less invasive options.
And that brings us right to the core promise of this herbal quilt. It's all summed up in this one quote from their page. No pill, no pain, no side effect. That's a really powerful message, and it's aimed squarely at the concerns we were just talking about.
So the big question is, how does a quilt supposedly pull this off? Well, the manufacturer has a special name for the technology they say is behind it all.
They call it green respiratory therapy. The main idea here is that your own body heat acts like a switch. It activates these herbal molecules that are packed into the quilt's filling, and then, as you sleep, you supposedly absorb them through your skin and just by breathing them in.
They break this down into a really simple process. Step 1 is activation. Your body warms up the quilt. Step 2 is release. The herbal molecules start coming out of the fiber. And step 3 is absorption. Those molecules get into your system. And the result they're claiming? Relief from tension and a ticket to deep sleep.
Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. They don't stop there. The source actually mentions a second mechanism. They claim the quilt also gives off far-infrared radiation, which they say helps your cells absorb those herbal compounds even better.
And all of this leads to what is, without a doubt, their biggest claim. The manufacturer states that clinical trials by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, the AASM, certified that this quilt is, and I'm quoting here, more effective in improving sleep quality than pills. That is a massive statement. So let's look at what's supposedly making it all happen.
So obviously the whole thing hinges on what's actually inside the quilt. Let's take a look at the key herbal ingredients that are supposedly doing all the heavy lifting here. The product page points to 4 main herbs. First, you've got chamomile, which is, a classic for helping with sleep and stress. Then there's salvia, which they claim is antibacterial. They also have rosemary in there for its antioxidant properties, and motherwort, which they specifically call out for relieving anxiety and helping with menopausal symptoms. They also mention that lavender is tossed into the mix, but interestingly, they say its purpose isn't just for relaxation, but also to balance out all the other scents, creating a pleasant fragrance that isn't too overpowering.
Okay, so we've got the how, but what about the who? Who is this actually for? Well, the company is pretty specific about the types of people they think can benefit from this.
First up, they address a major group that often has a really tough time with sleep: women who are going through menopause. And they pose the question directly.
And they offer 3 specific ways they claim it helps. First, the lyocell fabric is supposed to help regulate your temperature. Second, it's designed to wick away moisture, which helps with night sweats. And third, they say that blend of calming herbs can help balance out mood swings. Next, they go after another huge reason for sleepless nights: good old anxiety and stress. When your mind just won't shut off. Can this quilt really help with that?
Well, according to them, the answer is a definite yes. They point specifically to chamomile for its anxiety-reducing effects, lavender for stress reduction, and they say salvia has a calming effect on the nervous system.
And beyond those 2 specific groups, the quilt is also marketed more broadly to anyone who's a light sleeper, the type that wakes up at every little sound, and also to people dealing with chronic insomnia. The big promise for them is promoting more sustained, deep sleep cycles. Of course, with any product like this, the practical details really matter. So let's look at the fine print. What's it made of? How do you clean it? And what happens if it doesn't work for you?
So the outer shell is made from lyocell, which you might know as tencel. It's a really breathable fabric. The inside, of course, is that special herbal fiber filling. It's designed to be lightweight enough for all seasons, and it's got an Oeko-Tex certification, which basically just means it's been tested and is free of harmful chemicals.
Now here's a huge practical question. Can you wash it?
The company says yes. They claim the herbal stuff is embedded right into the fibers, so it's not all going to wash out in the laundry. They just recommend using a delicate cycle with cold water.
But what if you try it and you're just not feeling any difference? Well, they highlight a 60-day free return guarantee. That gives you a whole 2 months to test out their claims for yourself.
So all of this really brings us to our final big picture question. We've seen bedding that can cool you down, bedding that's weighted, and now we have bedding that claims to be therapeutic. Is this the future of wellness? Are we moving into an era where our sleep environment becomes an active part of our health routine? It's a really fascinating idea to think about.